Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone, and this is the Roger Stone Show. Now joining me is a man who probably has had a greater effect on my personal career than almost any other. The three people that I often say most affected my career and my outlook on politics are Richard Nixon, former Buffalo Congressman Jack Kemp, and James L. Martin. Jim Martin, first of all, ran one of the most historic and textbook U.S. Senate campaigns in history when in 1968 he elected Ed Gurney, the first Republican senator from Florida since Reconstruction. He is a pioneer when it comes to political communications and direct response. I had the privilege as a much younger man of working for him at the Public Service Research Council. And I learned almost everything I know about political communications from Jim Martin. Today, Jim Martin heads an organization called 60 Plus, which is the premier hard-hitting organization dedicated to protecting the tax rights of senior citizens and to repealing the most confiscatory of all taxes, that is, the inheritance tax that comes after death. This is one of my favorite Jim Martin quotes. He says that there are two things in life that are certainties, taxes and death, and now, thanks to the death tax, there are three. Jim Martin, who heads an organization of 7.2 million citizens, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Well, Roger, it's an honor to be with you and to be put in the same category with Richard Nixon and Jack Kemp. That's an honor. I'm not sure I deserve that, but I certainly appreciate your comments, Roger. It's good to be with you.
Well, I meant every word of it. I consider you a mentor, and I learned a great deal at your knee, which is why I'm glad that you are leading the fight. I had no idea the tax bite on Social Security benefits, but, you know, unlike the AARP and these other liberal-oriented senior organizations, 60 Plus, and by the way, folks, you can go to 60plus.org, 60plus.org. That's the number 60plus.org to learn far more after our discussion today. You have put forward landmark legislation to protect seniors. So if you would, first explain the problem to my listeners and then explain the solution.
Well, the tax on Social Security benefits, we want to end that tax. And by the way, up front, I got to say, President Donald Trump may be the best friend senior citizens have ever had in the White House. And that includes one of my favorite seniors, Ronald Reagan, of course, and George Bush. But the fact is, ending the tax on Social Security has been an issue that's been brought into Congress many years now, for about 10 years, but it's gotten nowhere, because there's not enough support behind it. But Donald Trump is now behind it. And up until 1984, there had not been this tax on Social Security benefits. But Congress, in its inevitable way of seeking more funds from the public, decided to tax Social Security benefits. And I won't go into all the details of the levels it's taxed. But until 1984, there was no tax on Social Security benefits. By the way, I will mention Tom Massey of Kentucky. He's the lone Republican who introduces a bill every year, the Senior Citizens Tax Elimination Act, to get rid of this double tax on Social Security. But he's not had a lot of support behind him. But now with Donald Trump behind him, senior citizens rejoice to think that we'll finally get rid of this tax on our Social Security benefits. Roger, right now, 4 out of 10 Social Security beneficiaries pay some income tax on a portion of their benefits. It's because of this tax on Social Security. So it's time it's gotten rid of. It's a double tax, really. So in addition to that, Roger, the 60 Plus Association, we are sponsoring a bill called Social Security Guarantee Act, which is an act that would prohibit politicians in Washington from stealing from your Social Security. Up until a number of years ago, I think it was 1960, there was an act by a former recipient who sued the government. He said, "I'm entitled to my Social Security." Well, that's not true. The Supreme Court ruled back in 1960 that the government has no legal obligation to pay back Social Security contributions. So we're introducing a bill called the Social Security Guarantee Act that would prohibit politicians from taking away from your Social Security. And many people say, well, wait a minute, there's a trust fund. Well, that's nonsense. Basically, the FICA withholding taxes every year has been going into a general fund. And I blame it on one politician, Lyndon Baines Johnson, way back in 1967, to mask his budget deficits. He decided to put the Social Security funds into the general fund. And so year in and year out now, there's been no trust fund. It's been spent on other projects besides Social Security. Without going further into that, we think that the Social Security Guarantee Act is an issue whose time has come. We had a sponsor last year, Alex Mooney of West Virginia, who was a sponsor. We're looking for a new sponsor in the new Congress because this is, again, an issue whose time has come. You can poll senior citizens around the country, and 95% will tell you, no, they did not know that the government did not have a legal obligation to pay their Social Security. And when they hear that, they're all behind the bill to guarantee that we'll get our Social Security.
Well, you beat me to the punch. I was going to lay this at the feet of the man who started dipping into the Social Security Trust Fund. That would be good old LBJ. Anybody who listened to our show last weekend knows that in 2013, I wrote a New York Times best-selling book in which I make the comprehensive case using eyewitness evidence, fingerprint evidence, and deep Texas politics that Lyndon Baines Johnson was involved in a cabal to assassinate President John F. Kennedy. It's interesting this past week, Jim, in the congressional hearings on the JFK assassination documents, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert mistook me and Oliver Stone, and she said, Mr. Stone, you wrote a book in which you said LBJ did it. And Oliver Stone said, no, I didn't say that. I said in my movie that I thought he was complicit in the cover-up. Well, I wrote the book that said he did it, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, the case against LBJ. That's a conversation for another time. But you're absolutely right. I think that the Social Security Guarantee Act is vitally important because this is a famous tactic of the Democrats. I saw Chuck Schumer and AOC, who, let's face it, I hope she's their presidential candidate in 3+ years. Wouldn't that be great? I heard both of them saying Donald Trump is planning to cut Social Security benefits and Medicare. Those folks are lies. That is simply not true. I've known Donald Trump for 50 years. He hates it when I say that because he says it makes both of us sound old. But he, from the beginning of his first foray into politics, he's made it abundantly clear that regardless of the law, which as our guest today, Jim Martin, points out, does not guarantee you get paid back, he has no intention whatsoever of cutting Social Security or Medicare benefits, and he considers them a sacred trust. But the law that Jim Martin talks about would prevent them from trotting that tired old saw out in every single election, which they do. So when we come back with Jim Martin, I want to talk about 60 Plus. This is one of the most dynamic organizations in the country, almost 7.5 million members, hopefully a lot more after this show is over. They are out there fighting to protect seniors. They're also out there fighting disinformation about Social Security. They're doing the job that AARP should be doing, but really isn't doing. Don't go away, because we'll be right back with the great James L. Martin after this break.
Now, it's time for Protecting Your Future, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's Roger Stone.
In these turbulent economic times, with the Federal Reserve printing money like it's going out of style and answering to no one, with more than 100 lawsuits trying to prevent Elon Musk and his Doge from cutting waste, fraud, and corruption in federal spending, now is the perfect time to protect your savings, to protect your retirement by acquiring precious metals like gold and silver. Gold has protected wealth through every kind of economic crisis in our history. And the people that I trust, the experts, are at the Colonial Metals Group. These are the only people I trust to help bulletproof your retirement and bulletproof your wealth with gold. So go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/stone, colonialmetalsgroup.com/stone, or go to freegoldguide.com, and they can tell you all about it. Go to the folks at Colonial Metals Group. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
Smartwater Alkaline with antioxidant. 9.5 plus pH, now in cans.
Refreshing.
Made for every way you move.
Should I run a marathon?
Let's start with finishing that water. Smartwater Alkaline with antioxidant, now in a sleek can. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone, who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now, he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone.
Roger Stone.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group. Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. It's the Roger Stone Show. And I'm talking to a man I consider one of my mentors. Jim Martin is the head of 60 Plus, a vibrant, dynamic, fighting senior citizens organization that is fighting for the Social Security Guarantee Act. It was from Jim Martin that I learned the art of copywriting and the importance of the order of insertion. So I'm really honored that he is able to join us today. I say after every show that I learn something in every show, and I honestly did not know this. So, Jim, what you're telling me, I knew that LBJ had begun the dipping into the Social Security Trust Fund to pay other expenses, which has really left the system weakened. And I also had read that by 2033, the fund will not be able to meet all of its obligations to people who paid into it. But what you're telling me is that senior citizens who paid their payroll taxes throughout their entire lives could actually be left holding the bag when it comes time for retirement, that there's no legal guarantee that just because you paid in that you will get your benefits. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. There's no legal contractual obligation. But the reason we're introducing the Social Security Guarantee Act, Roger, is because every election cycle, you know this as well as anybody, every cycle, one party, in this case the Democrats, always scare seniors in the voting booth by saying they're going to take away your Social Security, they're going to take away your, and now Medicare, of course, Mediscare I call it, but they always use that every election cycle. So senior citizens who paid into the system all their working lives, then they're put on edge because, they're going to take away my benefits. So we want to make it a legal contractual obligation that the government owes you your benefits. You paid in all your life. It's been wasted on other projects, obviously. We want to make sure that the government is legally obligated to pay back what you paid in all your working life. So it's an issue as time has come. I guarantee you that President Trump will back this wholeheartedly. And we know better sponsor, of course, than Donald Trump. Seniors have no better friend in the White House than Donald Trump.
So, folks, if you like what you hear here and you want to help this effort to protect your Social Security benefits, whether you're receiving them now or whether you're going to receive them in the future or at least expect to, please go to 60 Plus, that's 60 and the word plus.org, and get more information, sign up and join this terrific organization my wife and I have joined. And I am proud to talk about them today because I think this is a vitally important issue. Jim, in Donald Trump's first term, how did he do by seniors?
Oh, he made it very clear up front that nobody was going to touch Social Security or Medicare. That, again, every cycle since Barry Goldwater days, and let me reminisce for a minute about Goldwater did not put out a white paper back in those days. He was about 30 years ahead of his time. In answer to a question, he said, I can see where the Social Security system will run into some financial difficulties years ahead because while seniors, someone put it rather indelicately, seniors are no longer conveniently dying at around 65. They're living longer, more productive lives. That means more people are living longer. They're no longer, again, conveniently dying earlier. So there'll be more people in the system, which means there'll be a financial shortfall in the years ahead. Ever since then, Barry Goldwater was always accused of wanting to take away Social Security by the liberals. So, in fact, that's one of the reasons I started 60 Plus, to give seniors another voice in the nation's capital other than the AARP. And speaking of the AARP, they get millions of dollars. Don't ask me why. They get millions of dollars from the government. and they spend it on many things. Here's a major difference between 60 Plus and the AARP. They're selling products out there, insurance, if you will. We're selling a philosophy: limited government, less taxes, and an adherence to that great document, the Constitution. That's a major difference between us and the AARP.
That is a huge difference. Almost 7.5 million people have joined 60 Plus. My wife and I are proud members. And there's three key pieces of legislation, as I understand it, that we need to be pushing. The Social Security Guarantee Act, and then there are two other very important bills, H.R. 904, sponsored by my good friend Congressman Jeff Van Drew from New Jersey, which would provide for no taxes on Social Security, as well as H.R. 1040, the Senior Citizen Tax Elimination Act by that great libertarian Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, which has 32 sponsors, which is a very good sign. But Jim is right. The President of the United States is the loudest voice in the room, and having known Donald Trump for 50 plus years, I can tell you when he gets behind something, when he sets his mind on something, you can't shake him. This is not a criticism, but he is the most stubborn man I've ever met in my life. That is a plus, not a minus. And when he becomes fixed on an idea, it is unshakable. He is fixed on the idea of doing two things. From a public policy point of view, making sure that future beneficiaries of Social Security cannot be robbed, cannot be left holding the bag, and secondarily, that the Democrats can no longer wave the bloody shirt of Social Security cuts when Republicans have no plans whatsoever to cut them. So I want to thank our guest today, Jim Martin, a very important man in my life. Is with great affection that I say that, Jim. You were a trailblazer for conservatives. And now you have dedicated your life to protecting our senior citizens, so my hat is off to you. And once again, folks, I urge you to go to 60plus.org. That's the number 60, the word plus, plus.org, to get more information on the organization. I urge you to join. I urge you to support them. I urge you to contact your Congress people and tell them to support the Social Security Guarantee Act. This is the wave of the future, but we cannot expect President Donald Trump to do it all alone. So, Jim Martin, thanks so much for joining us today, and God bless you, my friend.